Alex Belfield.
Dame Shirley Bassey and The Living Tree. That's from the brand new album, Get the Party Started. Thank you very much for joining us. That was a song and a collaboration with two old producers who you worked with, Never the Bride, wasn't it?
Well, they left it at my gym in Monte Carlo, and it was passed on to me. And it was stuck in my bag, my gym bag, for about 3 weeks. And finally I listened to it, and it really made the hair on the back of my head stand up. And I had not heard a song to do that to me for years. And I thought, I have got to record this. And there was one line that just stood out, because it was so original. It was, "Let me dance till my shoes cry." I mean, nobody never used that line. It was just so fabulous. And every time I talk about it, I get the vapors, you know. And of course, then when the girls heard that I was going to record it, I mean, they got the vapors. I mean, and I thought, my God, at ripe old age of 70, the September of my years, I found this fantastic song.
Now, is it true that before that you actually didn't think that you'd ever record another song again?
No, because I like recording. But to tell you the truth, I didn't have an offer to record. And I'd been so disappointed in the past with the records that I had made that they did not turn out to my liking. And so it's been great working with the girls on this new CD remix. Yeah, I found a couple of professionals at last, you know, and they've pumped new blood into me. They really have.
Now, I want to talk about this album, Get the Party Started. I love it. It's a great feel-good factor album, isn't it?
Well, they've done an incredible remix on I Will Survive. I think it should be put out, as they do too, as a single, because I think it's time for a revival of it, because they've done a whole modern twist on it. It's wonderful. That's one of my favourites on the album. And another one is Slave to the Rhythm. That is cool. And of course there's the Marks and Spencer's one, which when I did it was like, you know, sort of a minute, if that. And it's like 6 minutes long song. And I said to them, I can't do this. Yeah. So they played the original one to me, Pink, and I loved it. But I still thought I couldn't do it. I thought, it's too hip for me. But we went ahead and did it. It was a challenge.
How much of a challenge was it singing the line, "Kiss my ass" in Get the Party Started?
Yeah, that's why I giggled. I mean, I was embarrassed about it at first, because those words don't come, you know, I don't utter those words, you know, they don't come so freely. Except Living Tree, it's there again, you know. And when I came to that line, I'd get the party started, and then I started to giggle, and the girls liked it, so let's keep it in.
So you mentioned The Living Tree, you've also mentioned Get the Party Started. There's another controversial risque song as well, isn't there, on the album?
Can I touch you there? I mean, we're going to go to jail. I mean, it's going to be banned as a you know, sort of, BBC will ban that. Like they banned my Who Wants to Help Me Burn My Candle, Boom Boom, at both ends. And it was a big hit because the BBC banned it. I was, 18, 19 at the time, you know. I had no idea, you know, what I was singing about. And then, of course, when it was banned, I wanted to know why it was banned. And then it was explained to me. And I never sang the song the same again. You know, I think I took it out. And there's me thinking it was a real candle.
You know what I love about you, Shirley? You are really adventurous with your music. You love it. You love your musicality. And, for example, when you did the track with Yellow in 1987, and History Repeating, of course, which is still a classic track today, with the Propeller Heads in 1997, you love to be adventurous, don't you?
I'll be honest with you, it was an accident. You know, because I was singing it, you know, a la Bassey, and the boys wanted something different, but they didn't know. So I said, tell me, you know, and I can probably fit my voice to it, but they didn't know. Until suddenly I started singing, I think, like Louis Armstrong and Satch Moe, you know. And they said, that's the sound I want. History repeating. But it worked. They liked it. And so did the jukebox people. And then there was Yellow. I can't even remember the song. I loved the song. Rhythm Divine, that's it. Yeah. But that was kind of underground as well, because when I put it in the act, it did not go down with the audience. And you can tell. Well, I can tell. Because I'm singing to get at the reaction from them. And if I'm not getting a reaction, I know the song is not working. So I took it out.
Do you prefer to test a new song on an audience before you record it?
In the early days, we did that. You don't get that chance today. In the early days, like Kiss Me, Honey, Honey, Kiss Me, As I Love You, I was touring England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales for like 18 months singing those songs before they went into the hit parade. It was just that trying them out, actually not trying them out, they went into the act. And with all these people coming to the concerts, and then, of course, they started playing, the disc jockey started playing the songs. And As I Love You and Kiss Me, Honey. And they were 1 and 2 in the hit parade. But that's how we did it in those days. We went out on the road with the songs and then recorded.
Can you remember the thrill of first hearing your song on the radio or seeing it in the charts?
I loved it. I really loved every moment of it. I loved going on stage. I did not have any nerves. Not like to do. Nerves come later. It's weird. I suppose when you start off, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And then, of course, when you become successful, then you think, I could lose all this, and the nerves start. I get more nervous now than I ever did. Because, the audience, they know your every move, and they know your songs. And if you make a mistake, they're singing along with you. Sometimes I look down in the front row and I see them singing along with me.
What is amazing about you is your audience is a very broad range of people. It cuts across all boundaries and demographics, and they're also very loyal, aren't they?
Very loyal, yes. In the beginning, my manager, who discovered me, he always said to me, you will only ever be a cabaret singer, and you will never appeal to a family audience. Boy, did I ever prove him wrong. Or was he ever proven wrong? And I started to go into musicals, and then variety, and then concerts, and of course pop songs. And that's how it started. So I covered all those bases, and I was experienced in all that. But he thought I would only ever sing speciality songs. I would never sing pop, I would never get to have a pop song.
I think this is probably the stupidest question I'm going to ask you, but did it take any persuading to become a singer professionally?
I didn't think about it at all, really. It was something that happened. Really, this wave came in, I was discovered, and I've been on that wave ever since. I can't get off. Help! No, it's fantastic. I know nothing about music. I cannot read a note of music. I can play an instrument, but I know music in my head, and I can sing. I was born with these chops. These vocal cords that I didn't even know I had. And then when somebody tried to tell my mother said, "Oh, she's been singing since she gets on our nerves sometimes." So that didn't inspire me to become a singer at all. I would sing instead of crying, I remember. And then my sister would say, "Mom, Shirley's at it again. Tell her to shut up. We're trying to sleep."
It seems to me when I hear your records, it was what you were born to do. I can't imagine you doing anything else.
It was like I was meant to do it, because even when I had my first job in the factory and I'm wrapping up all this enamelware for export, and I'd just sing, and people would stop working, and the supervisor would say, "Bassey, what do you think you're doing? Get back to work. Look, everybody, all of you, get back to work." The whole factory would stop because I didn't realise what I was doing. And then, I went into a competition one day, and that was it. As a 10-year-old, I was singing, "Jezebel, if ever a devil was born, he was you."
I want to talk to you about your beginnings in show business. Were there many opportunities for a young singer in Wales at the time when you started?
No, it's nothing like today. You get all these reality shows. You get the Pop Idol, the American, whatever, the X Factor. And you go along for auditions. There was nowhere to go for auditions. I went to the BBC. And what did they tell me? Have you ever sung in front of an audience before? I said, no. I said, well, we can't use you. They said, well, unless you use me, how am I ever going to get experience? That's why I've come to you, because you have an audience. What a silly thing to say. But that's what we had in those days.
Presumably now there are more opportunities because you're you and your name goes before you. But do you think it's difficult for young artists today to get started?
No, there's so much competition too. And if they do get discovered, it's sad. It's not lasting because they're not looked after. They're not nurtured and taken care of. I was taken care of.
I presume ultimately you're all fighting for the same audience. There's so much competition now, isn't there?
There's so many singers around that the audience will choose what they want, and it's mostly the kids. And the kids don't let you last that long. They're fickle. They go on to somebody else. Somebody new comes along and they're there. But, I keep going back to my day because that's all I can relate to, is that you built up an audience. Now that the audience is instant, they're there. And my audience grew up with me and their children. They introduced me to their children and their children. So in the end, I have a family audience. My manager, all those years ago, said I would not have. I would only appeal to a nightclub audience. Well, thank God I didn't, because nightclubs didn't last. Now, they did variety. But I had that experience. I went through that. I went through the nightclub thing.
It's interesting that when you started, rock and roll was really on the rise and that was the big thing. You kind of went against that, but it was there when you started, wasn't it?
Yes, I wasn't into it at all. Well, it wasn't my scene at all. I was, a ballad singer. These two girls are getting me into it now, But it's fun. What they're doing, like on this CD, they've done some incredible things, like they've taken the voice and put it onto jazz, modern jazz, and funky jazz, and it's very interesting.
It is interesting how you've managed to cross all the different demographics and different audiences. Your voice seems to fit so many different styles.
My vocal coach said that if I'd had the right training, I could have been an opera singer. I would have been a contralto, not a soprano because it isn't high enough for that, but mezzo-soprano, down there. Yeah. I would have been a good candidate for an opera singer. My vocal coach made a record for me for when I'm travelling, outside of England. So I would have it, and I'd do it at home. I mean, for the show last night, I started 2 weeks ago to do, just so I could sing one song, I was doing like half an hour of vocal exercises every day. I do it before the sound check, which is like a complete show. It's supposed to be a sound check. But I go through every number, and then I go on stage and do the show. And that's the way I've always done it.
I got to ask you the question, what do you think of the recent James Bond movie?
My Bond was Sean Connery. I can't accept any other Bond. Sorry. I mean, he was James Bond. A tough act to follow. Doing it was in the studio. You didn't do it to tape. I think at the time there were 60 musicians. Yeah, maybe more. And John Barry was conducting. And I had to, and when it came to the He Loves Gold at the end, John Barry was going, hold it. Yeah, and I'm going blue in the face. Yeah, to hold that note. Because I was singing to the credits, and the credits hadn't finished. I had to hold that note till the credits finished. I nearly passed out. They asked the man in the street, like, which is your favourite Bond song? And it came up, Trump's Goldfinger.
Of course, everybody knows and loves you for the Bond themes. They're almost your themes, are they? Do you mind that?
Well, Goldfinger was written for me, and Diamonds. Because John Barry, I was doing a tour with John Barry at the time, a concert tour around England. And then he said to me one day, I know you don't like to listen to music without the words. And I said, of course, I'm a singer. And he said, I know that. He said, but do me a favour, will you listen to this? I've written the title music for the next Bond film. And I thought it was just an excuse for him to get me to his apartment, really. And anyway, I listened to it and I said, I don't care what the words are, I'll do it. And then Leslie Bricusse and Anthony Newley wrote the words.
It must be fascinating to put a show like yours together, because presumably when you're building the set list, you're kind of manipulating your audience, aren't you? And giving them what you want to give them.
It is so exciting to put an act together, to find songs to go. I get a great kick out of that. Because you lift them, but you can't keep doing that to them. I mean, you break them. And then the next song, you must bring them down gently. And so, you see, today's kids won't know that, because they hadn't the background. Variety teaches you that, because you get so many different artists in the one show. And I used to stand in the wings, and I think I learned something from everybody. The balancing acts, the comedians, timing, so the adagio dancers, the magicians, and it does help you. And you have that training, and the kids today don't have that. They're instant stars. They can't handle it, and the inevitable happens. Some turn to drugs and some to drink. I did it gradually. I had all that time, and probably that's why I'm still here.
Now, I want to talk to you about America, because everybody these days talks about the importance of breaking America and becoming the big next British thing. I presume the way you mastered it was by going over there and doing endless concerts and getting them to know you personally.
Oh, yes, I toured America, in concerts. And not only that, what really did it for me, though, was Goldfinger. I got my first gold record for a gold song called Goldfinger. But it's a tough nut to crack. You cannot crack America. It is a tough nut to crack.
I saw you on tour a couple of years ago, and it was a tremendous show. Do you, and are you still in the future going to enjoy touring?
I love travelling, period. I love travelling around the world. I don't know if I became a singer to travel around the world or what. Because my father was a merchant seaman, and I've inherited this wanderlust from him. I love travelling. I think if I gave up singing tomorrow, I'd still travel. I love living out of a suitcase. And that's how I did. I travelled the world. I didn't just stay here. I travelled the world because I wanted to. I wanted to see the world. And singing, did that. Not that I did see a lot, except hotels and the journey to the theatre and back, So if I stopped singing tomorrow, I would want to travel so that I could see some of the places that I travelled to but never got to see, if you know what I mean.
Now, your new life, of course, is in Monte Carlo. What's that like then?
I'm just Madame Bassey in Monte Carlo. Nobody bothers me. It's wonderful that I can get away from it and have so-called normal life. But the wanderlust, after a while, it was like about 3 weeks to get restless, And the bags come up from the basement, and the gym bag comes out, and there's a great song.
Dame Shirley Bassey, that's about it. My final question has to be, what are your plans for the future? Where do we see you next?
I'll probably be singing as they're lowering me, 6 feet under. So, oh, dreadful thought. Oh, play me out of here.
The Alex Belfield In Conversation podcast with daisymedia.co.uk. Alex Belfield.